Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Hump Day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing. Remember, if you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. You need a roof, you call Parish. Unique physique and unique aesthetics and wellness. Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, and Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. Use the code MAT15, MAT15, MAT15 for 15% off your order. All right, y'all. Good morning. We'll say some good mornings here. Tigers at the halfway point of the week, getting ready to take on Texas A&M Saturday. Saints back on the practice field today as they start getting ready for the Bucks. We'll get a better sense of injury report today. And as they move forward, this week getting ready for Tampa, 1-6 Saints against the Bucks, coming off a loss this past Monday on Monday Night Football. Interesting spot for Tampa. Obviously, they had to travel for Monday Night Football to take on Detroit, so then home, then New Orleans. So short week with back-to-back road games. Not a great spot on the schedule for Tampa. Maybe a good opportunity for New Orleans. We'll see. Please smash the like button if you would subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post, see what y'all got this morning. We talk Tigers, Aggies, all that stuff. So coaching carousel, fire away. Hey, Tiger Poppy, good morning. Bailey, what's the roughest LSU O-line you've ever seen, if not this one? I mean, y'all forget 22 was a real challenge, man. Jaden made up for a lot because of his ability to run. But you had two freshman tackles. Frazier was learning guard after having been a tackle. Just it was a little bit of a process. They got better as the year went along. But certainly at the beginning of the year, that was problematic. I'd have to think on that beyond yeah, I'd have to think on that a little bit because most of Les's teams were really good on the offensive line. Didn't necessarily have like all Americans or NFL draft picks, but they recruited a certain style. They wanted tough guys, physical guys that get a push. Maybe not the super athletic guys that were projectable to the NFL, but anyway. Hey, Reed, morning. Any update on Vitello or the Giants? No. The only thing I saw yesterday is that Vitello was at practice. Remember, fall ball is going on right now, so you got fall baseball practice going on. So Vitello was at Tennessee's baseball practice yesterday. So Jacob, morning, Matty. Can't wait to see all the fire the coach comments you get today. Hey, Milton, but I'm used to it, brother. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Thomas, Ben, good to see everybody. Yes, day 32. Let's go. By the way, so tomorrow, Drew's back at school tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll back live at 6:45 a.m. on Thursday, just as an FYI. Hey, Daniel. Last year, Marcel ran all over at LSU. Think they have a reasonable game plan to stop him this time. So interesting that you ask that because I had that conversation with Derry Beckwith yesterday on AFR. And you can hear that quote, you can hear Derry's answer on Locked on LSU, which is live right now on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. And the short answer is yes, he does feel they're better equipped this year to handle Marcel Reed than a year ago. But a big part of that, obviously, is Whit Weeks. And I do not believe Whit Weeks is going to play this week. So expect Devon Keys. I do think they'll get Jamari Butler back this week. Don't know about Bernard Gooden yet. Christian, I guess I'm under the mindset, don't give somebody $50 million to stop doing their job, make them figure it out. Christian, I think there's a couple of different ways to approach that. First of all, I think massive buyouts of contracts are stupid. I understand why, to a degree, you have to agree to those terms because otherwise, why would a coach leave to take your job without a safety net, right? So I get that. Um, but I don't like the buyout clauses in contracts, number one. Number two, um, sometimes you do reach a point of no return where you realize, hey, this is not going to get better. And it's better to cut bait than to continue to dig that hole deeper. I do think, however, a lot of times we jump to those conclusions too early. We get reactive to individual game performances or even an individual season. Shared with you yesterday, Kelly had a 4-8 year at Notre Dame. Like he was rolling in South Bend, and then boom, he had this weird year where they kept losing games late in fourth quarters. Had a 4-8 season and bounced back and had like 5 straight double-digit win seasons after that. And that was very clearly the outlier in his time there. So sometimes you give people an opportunity to figure it out. Let's see. Eric, it's interesting years where we've lost the opener. We've consistently improved throughout the rest of the year. This year, we go all in on the opener and regress. It's an interesting thought, Eric. I don't know that I would say that LSU has regressed as the season's gone along. As a matter of fact, I would argue, I agree that over the last 2 games, they have run the ball better, which is a big point of contention that I've had for the first month of the season. But the commitment against South Carolina and Vanderbilt to running the ball was there, and you ran the ball better. The offensive line, I think, is kind of what it is. I think only a personnel change would improve that. And I'm not guaranteeing you a personnel change would improve it. I'm saying that's about the only thing that could improve it at this point. Again, not a practice every day, but I think Karius Curran is one of your 5 best. And I could live with a few mistakes to get a guy with a higher ceiling out there. Anyway. Hey, Sean, good morning. Not fun to be a football fan this year. Saints, Tigers, Cajuns all underperforming. Saints were expected. That's true. Hey, Patrick. Good morning, Matt and Drew. No BK questions for me, I promise. Enjoy your coffee. Enjoy your home day. You can ask whatever BK questions you want, man. That's why I'm here. Ian, good morning. Possible wide receiver scenario next year. Wide receiver 1, rookie. Wide receiver 2, Vele. Wide receiver 3, Olave, Jalen Polk. The Jalen Polk piece is an interesting one. I'm glad you brought that up. So for those that don't remember, the Saints traded for Jalen Polk, but he's on IR, so he's not playing this year, but he'll be available next year. And Polk was a first-round talent that the Saints really liked, and maybe would fit well. I don't know that. I mean, you also forget Shaheed there. I don't know if you forget Shaheed intentionally, but I am assuming they will re-sign Rashid Shaheed. Now, he could hit free agency and go somewhere else, but I'm assuming they're going to try to re-sign him. And Olave is the interesting one because he's on, his 5th year of his rookie deal next season, unless they extend him this offseason, which they might do. But Polk is kind of a low risk, high reward type deal that they did. But yes, I would like to see them somewhere near the top of the draft find an explosive offensive playmaker. Hey, Quentin, good morning. Tiger Diver, morning, Scone. Given the lack of offensive production this year, do you think Brian Kelly moves on from Sloan? If so, what would be your top candidates? I don't know if he'll move on from Joe Sloan. I understand all the angst. I understand all the criticism. I also understand that when your quarterback is limited to whatever degree he was, and your offensive line is this bad. Like, what do you do? Like, what plays do you call? I mean, how many times have we seen plays that, like, that's the other thing. Like, we blame the OC, we blame play calling. It's one of the reasons I always struggle to blame play calling. Like, number one, you and I don't know the play call. We don't know what went wrong. Like, for example, the play where Nuss got sacked, where DJ Chester got knocked flat on his back. Like, that might have been a brilliant play call, and a receiver might have been wide open, and maybe that would have been a touchdown. We'll never know because the offensive lineman got flat backed and Nuss got sacked. You know what I mean? Like, how different might the game have been if the touchdown to Xavier Thomas had stood? Well, it didn't, because Donovan Green false started, and so that touchdown comes off the board, and you end up kicking a field goal. You know what I mean? Like, I know nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to fire the coach and be really mad, but it takes a lot of patience, restraint, understanding to say, I get fans just want to blame the play caller. You don't know the play. I don't know the play. You don't know what was called. I don't know what was called. You don't know the sequence in which things were called. Like, were we blaming Joe Sloan last year when LSU averaged 30 a game and was top 20 in total offense? I think they were 25th in total offense, so they were 7th in passing offense. Like, were we all mad at Joe Sloan last year? Or were we like, man, you paid Blake Baker all this money and you can't stop a running quarterback because you couldn't tackle Marcel Reed, you couldn't tackle Jalen Milroe. Like, last year, everyone was upset about Blake Baker. I mean, anyway. 22 is bad, got better faster than this one. I think you also had higher ceiling players, obviously. Trivia, good morning. Logan, how do we get a portal quarterback without pushing Van Buren out for 2026? I don't know that you do. And I'm not really concerned about that. If you have a transfer portal quarterback available that that's been a multi-year starter and is a better option, then you go get him. And if Van Buren leaves, he leaves. Who's quarterback for the future for LSU? I don't think he's on the roster. Brad, good morning. Did you get your grandfather taking your supplements? I saw a perfect amino bottle in the background of the picture you posted yesterday. I always wonder about, I literally took that picture yesterday and I could see the back of the kitchen and everything. I'm like, I wonder how many people are going to zoom in and look all around and see what's back there. I'm always usually very aware of what's in the background of pictures. So I went over to my parents' house last night. My 93-year-old grandfather lives with my parents. And Graham's asked me to make him a Sazerac cocktail. So we did. I took a picture and I posted it. But no, the perfect aminos, that's my mom. My mom taking perfect amino. Hey, Leon, good morning. Eric, since we're top 10 in the country in drops, don't have any wide receivers that were on Kuiper's initial rankings. Do you think we overrated the wide receiver core? Their cumulative season seems very Olave-ish. The drops are super frustrating. I'm not sure that I am I'm not sure we're overvaluing the receivers because they're not in the top 10. I mean, think about the cumulative number. If every team has 3-4 receivers and have 136 FBS receivers, I mean, you're talking about 500 players. To be in the top 10 is super rare. I think Nick Anderson is the one that we probably expected more from coming in from Oklahoma. Has had just a minimal impact. Barry Brown's been really good this year. Aaron Anderson was off to a great start before the injury has slowed him the last couple of games. He missed South Carolina, minimal snaps there against Vanderbilt. So see if he gets back on track this week. But I don't think we overvalued the receivers. The drops are a concern. Hey, Dale, still auto buying crypto. How do you keep track of all that for taxes? I am. Remember, it only becomes a taxable event when you sell. And so I am not selling. I am hodling, as they say. So I have no interest in selling my crypto. Those for me are long-term holds that I will either sell at the appropriate time in my life, or I will use as leverage to borrow against. So I don't have to worry about the tax implications because I'm not selling it, if that makes sense. Hey, Tom, good morning. Reed, got to say, but I do, Dale, I don't know if I answered the first part of your question. I do. I have auto purchases on daily. So I dollar cost average on Bitcoin and XRP. I buy those two every single day. Hey, Reed, got to say, it does seem like we're stuck with BK for at least another year, unless we're okay getting third and fourth choice. We're outspending Penn State. Stuck with him, right? Y'all are crazy. You aren't afraid of being stuck with him when LSU beat Clemson, right? But now you're stuck with him. Y'all are crazy. Taro, top of the morning. Saturday is what makes being LSU so special. I'll remind you, Texas A&M has not won in Tiger Stadium since they've been in the conference. So you've got that bit of history going for you. Need to make Tiger Stadium loud this weekend. Hey, Tommy, good morning. The way LSU went into the portal is similar how Ole Miss did last year. Does their season seem similar? Lost to Ole Miss, they should have beat. Lost to Vandy, should have beat. Like Ole Miss lost to LSU, Kentucky, should have won both those games. They lost to Florida as well. Ole Miss did last year. All three games they lost, they were favored. But LSU was not favored at Ole Miss or Vanderbilt. That's a big difference. So you say should have won. You were not favored, and you were on the road against a ranked opponent. That's the difference. Ole Miss was favored in all three of those. LSU was not favored in either of the games. What does that say about the portal? I don't know. Ohio State went heavy in the portal last year and won the national championship. Texas Tech went heavy in the portal, and they were undefeated and ranked 7th in the country until they just lost to Arizona State. I think more than anything, what it shows is, I know nobody wants to hear it, but it's the parity in college football. Like, the gap is shrunk. Vanderbilt can beat you. It's never, two of Clark Lee's first 3 years in the league, he was 0-8. He was 2-22 in the SEC his first 3 seasons. 2-22 in the league. Now they're good. $44 the legendary. BK is nothing more than a Gator Bowl, Pop-Tart Bowl, Mayo Bowl coach. He'll never win a championship. Okay. Patrick, read an article this morning that Saints won big with a Lattimore trade. Pick Sanker, Riley, Neal with those picks. Even a broken clock, Loomis is right 2 times a day. It was a great decision. And I was surprised they did it because the Saints normally are buyers, not sellers at the deadline, as they were trying to be all in. And they sort of had their hand forced a year ago. But yes, absolutely. 843 Mud Mafia. The only problem, we ain't got more than 24 points yet this season. Yes, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Morning, Matt. Did the 2023 baseball team go to the White House? I think so. Yeah. Pretty sure they did. Brad, you enjoy following the coaching carousel. I find it fascinating how much money schools throw coaches try to win. Yeah, I like the silly season. I think it's fun to follow. But I do follow this one tenet, Brad, which is believe nothing, consider everything. when it comes to the coaching carousel. Believe nothing, consider everything. Rocky, good morning. Have you heard of your backup center being a swing tackle? I haven't. Yeah, Ethan Posick. Leon, I saw a mock draft with the Saints drafting an edge rusher. We need corners and a real tight end worse than anything. Let's be real, Leon. The Saints need everything. I mean, you've got Granderson and Chase Young. But you need a real impact edge player. You need a legit number one wide receiver. You need a legit number one corner. Yes, you need help at tight end. You need quarterback help, probably, unless if Tyler Shuck proves to be great. You need everything. RPO doesn't make sense if your quarterback isn't a threat with his legs. Yes, it does, trivia, because an RPO is a run with a pass option. It doesn't mean the quarterback runs. It means it's a run play, and you have the option to throw the ball off the run. So RPO does make sense. What you're talking about is a zone read or a read option where the quarterback has the option to give or to run. That's not what an RPO is. They're different. Tiger Poppy, Justin Tucker is off suspension soon. Should Saints give him a try? Yes. The Saints should let me go kick because I'll do it for far less than Blake Groupie and will have just as much success. Dale, Elko made a quarterback change mid-game last year to beat us. Could Brian Kelly do the same? No. Brad, when NIL started, people said it would widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Why is that the opposite effect? That's an interesting question, Brad, because I think what you've seen, you have to define the haves and the have-nots, okay? So by what you're saying, like when NIL started saying widen the gap, that's like saying it's widening the gap between LSU and UL Lafayette. And that is true, objectively true. What also has happened is teams that want to invest can buy their way to relevance, like Vanderbilt, SMU, Texas Tech, etc. So that's there. That option's there. If you want to buy your way to relevance, you can, if you have the resource and you're willing to do it. But the haves and the have-nots is more so about the different classifications, so to speak, in college football.
Parish Construction and Roofing. At Parish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parish Construction and Roofing. Parish built. Parish built. Parish built. From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
All right. Parish Construction and Roofing. Hey, remember with Brock, the free Friday night clinic coming up again this Friday. Anybody injured on a football Friday night, need to see an orthopedist, you can do so for free at Brock on Blue Bonnet starting at 9 p.m. Parish Construction and Roofing. Love to give you that free, no obligation roofing inspection. Give us a shout, parishbuilt.com. Parishbuilt.com. Unique physique, unique aesthetics and wellness. Remember, unique aesthetics and wellness, $8 a unit Botox. Cheapest prices anywhere. Seriously, shop it around. See if you find $8 a unit Botox anywhere else. You won't. And then Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. Give Crystal Poche a shout. If you've got pain, she'll help you out. Lynn, what's good? From Marrero. Hey, Dick Tilley, good morning. Appreciate it, sir. Have a great day. I love that you think I'm a young man, too. Love that. 43, young man. I'll take it. Corey, that screen pass for the first half should get you fired. Screen pass before the first half. Screen pass. Trying to remember the play. Sorry. Hey, Rashad, good morning. What happened to all the big game Louisiana-based off-field analysts? Big name Louisiana-based off-field analysts. Why aren't they making a difference? You got to help me out here, man. Like who? I mean, you can have the greatest plan in the world. You still have to go execute the plan. I don't know what else to say, man. Like, you're watching the same game I am. We watch the tape, we look at the PFF grades. I mean, what more is there to say? Like, you're learning the importance of and the value of having a strong offensive line, and you don't, and it's affecting everything you do. Why can't you throw the ball down the field? Well, your quarterback doesn't have time to throw the ball down the field. He's getting killed on every play. We can't run the ball. Why can't you run the ball? Anyway. Hey, Glenn. Morning. Elmer Fudd win a national championship band for BK does here at LSU. I don't think that's going to happen. Corey, time mismanagement before the first half was horrible. Patrick Morgan starting to feel somewhat positive after a few days to stew. Always happens that way, man. The immediacy of the loss stings. People are mad. And the closer you get to the next game, you start to convince yourself your team will win. It's the crazy cycle of being a fan. Spurge. Lynn, question, who's best fit for head coach next year at LSU? Yeah, Brian Kelly's going to be the head coach. He's not going to be fired. I'll say this again. The only way Brian Kelly is not the coach at LSU next year is if he chooses not to be. Like if he retires and goes and does TV. That's it. They're not firing him. Tom, I may be wrong. We don't look strong and physical as years past. Maybe, Tom. I also think it's comical to hear all the people now saying, bring back Tommy Moffitt, when a lot of y'all, and you know who you were, wanted to run Tommy Moffitt out of town because you thought that he had gotten stale and he was antiquated and didn't keep up with the times and they were getting injured and people were ready for Tommy Moffitt to go. And now, why did they ever let Tommy Moffitt go? Nature of being a fan. Patrick, Sark schemed well for Ewers last year. He was injured all over and getting killed. Why can't Sloan Kelly do the same? Are we that incompetent here? Patrick, Ewers didn't get killed last year. They had 4 offensive linemen that were drafted, including Kelvin Banks, who went in the first round of the New Orleans Saints, top 10 overall. They had a great offensive line last year. They have a very similar problem to LSU this year in replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. Watch a Texas game. You'll see. Bailey, I agree with you on Sloan. What do you do when the O-line is brutal? They were productive last year. I don't want to be this guy. Nuss is bad at extending plays. I think Nuss is really good at extending plays. He's got really good pocket awareness and knowing when to get rid of the football. It's one of the reasons the sack numbers are low, is because he's very good at that. Now, if what you're saying is he's not Diego Pavia, who's going to tuck the ball and run around 15 different ways and then gain 10 yards on the edge because nobody can get him down, that's true. That's not his game and never will be. Hey, Zach, let's see. Vanderbilt was the first team I saw that the O-line swapped sides. Is that an old scheme or did they make that up? There were actually times where we did that in high school, believe it or not. That's not common, but it's also not altogether unique. Hey, Ben. Start of the season seemed everyone was nervous about Sloan and Baker leaving LSU for head coaching job. Funny how that goes, huh? Hey, Jackson, once a coach loses the fan base, usually beginning at the end. Harbaugh at Michigan is the only exception I can think of offhand. What about Ryan Day? They literally lost their regular season finale at home last year to a 500 Michigan team, 13-10. 13-10. Scored 10 points at home against Michigan, who went 500. The fans were chanting F Ryan Day, and a month later he wins the national championship. Love LSU. We'll cheer for LSU Saturday. Would love for a win. Going to be positive no matter how hard it is for LSU. There you go, Patrick. There you go. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. You had a great time with Gramps last night. Hey, Carlos. Good morning. Thank you for the show. Thank you for being there. Appreciate you. Rocky, many former players, including Flynn and Hester, critical of play calling, most notably having a first and goal 6-inch line, calling trips right with a procedure penalty. That's fine. And if they had run the ball up the middle and gotten stuffed, they would have gotten crushed for running the ball up the middle when you can't run the ball up the middle. And why can't you be creative? And by the way, they called a beautiful play that scored was Avion Thomas. It was wide open. And it worked, except for the fact that Donovan Green false started. It worked. Devin, Brian Kelly hasn't lived up to the billing so far. Firing him would only hurt the program financially. Hope the kids fight Saturday. Lynn Durham, have you been keeping up with Louisiana high school seniors who are impressing you? Not really, Lynn, candidly. It's very hard for me to pay a lot of attention to high school football. I used to call games for Catholic, and then, football weekends are so busy when Drew came along, had to give time back to my family, so I just don't get to do as much high school. Eric, the only thing that would make this season more disappointing is if we storm the field after a win this weekend. Oh, that'll happen, Eric. I guarantee it'll happen. If LSU wins, they'll storm the field because that's what they do. And I hate it. LSU should be far beyond ever storming the field. Stay in the stands, celebrate, act like you've been there before, but what do I know? I'm just the old guy yelling at the clouds. Corey, I've been a huge Kelly defender. Looking at stats, it's getting harder and harder to defend. 5-10 against ranked teams isn't acceptable here. Carlos, granted, LSU looks like it's the middle of the SC Pack now. I still think they'll win Saturday. My daughter will be there cheering Tigers on. Remember Lee Corso picked LSU to win the Natty. Maybe he was peering into his crystal ball. Trust the process. Yeah, a lot of people liked LSU this year. There was a lot of reason to like LSU this year. Veteran quarterback returning, all the additions in the portal. There were a lot of reasons to like LSU this year. And injury, offensive line play, it's derailed from what you expected. But you got 5 games to go. Start with a big opportunity this weekend. See how they do. A&M is a good physical team at the line of scrimmage. There's a really good shot that they just run all over you and win this game and win easily. I think it's a good shot that happens. Or you could get like full peak Tiger Stadium at night and LSU plays its best game of the year and you win 27-24. And then we go into the bye thinking, man, we're back, get healthy, and then go beat Bama. That's the nature of how these combos go. Bailey, LSU's right and they go in the portal. That's not the problem. I agree. Hey, Drake, good morning. Thomas, 32 down, 33 tomorrow. Get some haters. Tiger Diver, I get A&M hasn't won in Baton Rouge since joining the SEC. Vandy hadn't beaten LSU since 1990. True. I miss JD. Antron, morning. Hope all is well. Jason, sucking tail. The one 3 linemen out at receiver, they ran the tight end, screen underneath, one minute left in the first half. Yeah, shame on them for being creative. Shame on them for being creative. Wild that they would try to do something different with all the complaints that everybody has about the offensive line they can't block and they try to do something creative and it doesn't work, and shame on them. Awful. Maurice, Antron, hope we can bounce back Saturday night. Me too, man. I hope so. Zenithus. Morning, Scone. What are the odds BK retires? He looks tired and uninterested. I don't know what the odds are that he retires. I'm just telling you that they're not going to fire him and pay his buyout. The way it was said to me this weekend is there is no appetite to spend $53 million or whatever it would be to buy him out after this season. So that's not happening. It's what I said before the year. Like, that's not happening. Does he retire? I don't know. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. Maybe he does. Maybe he goes and takes a TV job. He hasn't mentioned that. He hasn't hinted at that. I'm just reading tea leaves. Like, going all in the portal is a very different approach for Kelly. He said earlier this year, he never wanted a GM. Otherwise, it's why he never went to the NFL and all that sort of stuff. maybe this is the year if it keeps, going down that he's not interested in the long haul. I don't know. We'll see. Tom Bailey, you need a graphic on the screen with BK's buyout so people stop asking about new coach. There you go. There you go. They'll still ask. Sorry, I lost my spot. Trying to find my spot. Sorry, y'all. There we go. Hey, Lassiter, saw a video, I think it was last week, in which T-Bob insinuated BK was golfing for most of the summer instead of coaching. I did not see that. Again, that's like, I didn't see the video, so I don't want to comment on what T-Bob said without having heard the entirety of what T-Bob said. That's not fair to him. But that sentiment, Kelly went on vacation during the bye week, he plays golf, like all that stuff. That sentiment is part of the fan echo chamber. Everyone's repeating the same thing. Not based in anything they actually know, but something they heard or were told and have accepted as gospel because it is confirmation bias. And I tell you that all the time, that people look for affirmation. It's called confirmation bias. You look for things that support your line of thinking and you accept them as truth and you prop them up and you ignore things that argue to the contrary. My point is not to sit here and defend Brian Kelly or Joe Sloan or Jake Flint, if you want to blame the strength coach or whoever. I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm here to present equal sides of an argument and give you opinions. I think if you were just sitting here throwing darts at Sloan or saying Kelly's taking vacation or whatever, you're not also considering factual information, which is to say, a year ago, Joe Sloan called plays with this quarterback, and they were 7th in the country in passing offense, averaged over 30 points a game. And we all wanted to see him run the ball better. But last year, the reason LSU lost was not the offense. The reason LSU lost games was because the defense couldn't stop running quarterbacks. Your offense put you in a position to win against Southern Cal. Your defense gave up the game-winning drive. Your offense had a 10-point lead in the third quarter against Texas A&M. I know Nuss threw picks, but what changed that game was your inability to tackle Marcel Reed. You lost against Bama in Tiger Stadium because nobody wanted to tackle Jalen Milroe. Like, let's call it what it is. You are in a very disappointing offensive season. Is it because Joe Sloan doesn't know how to call plays? I don't believe that's the case because we've seen him do it and do it successfully. I think it's a lot of things. I think clearly it starts with the offensive line. Were those issues compounded by Nuss being slowed early in the season? Sure. Drops, combination of a lot of things. Like, it's rarely just one thing when things go poorly. And I'm just here to talk about all those things. Whereas I know what most people want to do is this. Brian Kelly went and was playing golf and took a vacation and he's checked out. Or maybe he's not. And maybe the lesson learned is they should have gone heavier on the line of scrimmage in the portal. Spent less on tight ends and receivers and more on offensive and defensive line. Maybe that's the lesson. Vandy wide receivers and tight ends caught everything. Even passes that were behind extend drives. They made way more plays. We didn't. It's part of it. I mean, opening drive of the game, Xavier Thomas had a drop. In the fourth quarter, you were trying to go drive to tie the game. You had a third down play. Threw it to Barry and Brown. Had a drop in the left flat. I mean, that's true. Drops have been a problem. But then, say they didn't make more plays. What about Xavier Thomas with the 62-yard touchdown? That was a great individual effort by Nuss to avoid the sack while he's running for his life, get the ball to Thomas, then Thomas to make a guy miss and run for 62 yards and score. Like, that's a great individual effort. Let's call it both ways. Hey, Tom. Got it. Dale, what did you? Christian, since Eric McCoy's out for the season, that's the season. Guess my 10 or 11 win season prediction was for nothing. Christian, respect that you actually came here and lived up to your 10 or 11 win prediction, which was foolish to begin with. It had nothing to do with Eric McCoy. They were 1-6 with Eric McCoy, brother. Like, you have to look at that team and realize they stink. They're not talented. You had a rookie head coach. Like, all the things you said before the season. You didn't have a quarterback on the roster that ever won a game as a starter in the NFL. Your most expensive players are your oldest players. Like, it's not a recipe to win in the NFL. Lowell. Eric, yeah, Pels tonight. Season opener. I got a client dinner, so I'll probably be able to catch the end of the game. Vandy didn't storm the field versus LSU. Let that sink in. Great point. Patrick, LSU fans, you stop storming the field? Yes, they do. Go Pels. YouTube user, agree with the individual play calling, difficult to blame. Who's responsible for lack of adjustments to the Ole Miss game? Halfway through, almost continue to drop 8. I think that's totally valid. I absolutely think that's a valid criticism. Again, I'm not saying they're not without blame. But I think to pinpoint one person, one thing, and say that's the problem, I think is short-sighted. Yes, I completely agree with you. In that game, and I've said it a million times, I would point to Joe Sloan and say throwing the ball 34 times and running it 22 is, especially when your defense continues to be on the field for as long as they were, the lack of commitment to running the football in what was a one-score game pretty consistently throughout. That was a problem. Absolutely agree. Hump day, LSU second to last in drop balls. Why? The summer of 10,000 catches again, or whatever it was. Love Tulane's new uniforms are fire. What's your search size? Oh, large. He's not leaving $50 million on the table. Maybe stat dub. I think there's also the question of when you made money, how much money is enough, and TV jobs pay a lot too. Paula, who wants him on TV? Oh, Paula, I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be very surprised. I think he'd get a TV job in a millisecond. Hey, Chris, with several recruiting cycles under his belt and history of having good O-lines at LSU, as these as the best 5 line members. I think I know what you're asking. Remember, Weston Davis was a 5-star. Tyree Adams was a top 100 player. Cohen Eccles was a guy who was celebrated when you flipped him from A&M. You've got lots of talent. You don't have lots of experience. That's what happens when you have 4 dudes from a year ago that are 3-year starters together. Nobody else plays. So that's the blessing and the curse, right? So they all leave at once, and now you have no experience. So you go in the portal and get 2 guys. The 2 guys you got in the portal have been your 2 best linemen. And you had to play a bunch of young guys in other spots. And there's been a lot of growing pains. And I think those dudes could end up being really good. Like, I think Weston Davis has all the physical ability to be really good. It's got to develop. But the lesson is probably in an all-in year, you probably should have gone heavier on the offensive line in the portal. They tried. Told you that, man. I've given you names that they went after in the portal. Other guys they tried to sign. Didn't land them. At least BK didn't post his score. That's stupid. I don't see LSU firing and buying up BK. They're not. They're not going to fire Brian Kelly. They're not going to pay that man $53 million to go away. Abner, let's see. Patrick, how incredible is that our A&M game is 50-50 pick'em for ESPN Analytics? Patrick, I don't know any other way to say it. Like, college football this is the thing we all have to get used to. It more closely is going to resemble the NFL. I saw a stat yesterday where the average margin in the NFL this year is 10.7 points. The average margin in the SEC is 10.3 points. Like, the ceiling has been lowered. The floor has been raised. Everyone is compressed more toward the middle. It's just more parity. Nobody wants to hear that. It doesn't make you feel better. But the line in this game against Texas A&M is a great illustration of that. A&M's undefeated. They're ranked third in the country. They look really good on both sides of the ball. They're coming into Tiger Stadium. The line is inside of a field goal. Can LSU win? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know. Probably won't pick them. I'll pick A&M to win this game on Friday. But can they win? Absolutely, they can win this game. Vandy did storm the field. They waited until LSU left. Okay. I was wondering because I did see some pictures of a lot of people on the field, but it didn't look like a full-on like tear down the goalpost. The field is just flooded with people and humanity. But I saw some pictures like post game of Clark Lee, and there were people all over. It kind of looked like maybe. There you go. Okay. They did it to avoid the fine. That's great. The offense stinks to high heaven. The defense is old. I say, hey, if they don't achieve my expectations, it's okay. I wouldn't immediately say tank starting week 1. I never said tank, but I did say have a realistic expectation of what your season is. Let's see. Your criticism of BK and Nusipeni has been mild in comparison to other programs and players, games, etc. I understand it's because what happened to you and Ed was the coach. Whoa, hold on. To be very clear, and don't ever get this twisted. You can come here under your fake name, and I'll be respectful and answer your questions for as long as y'all want to come. I've done radio and media for 22 years. I've done AFR for 15 years. Not once now, nor have I ever compromised what I think to appease anyone. Literally to the point that you just mentioned, that I was blacklisted by my alma mater because the head coach and athletic director didn't like what I had to say. If you think I would ever go on air and not give you an honest opinion, I wish this wasn't Morning Scone so I could tell you what I actually think and where you could go. The thing that I have earned in my time in this profession is respect from people to understand that I'm giving you honest opinions every day. And I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. If you think I'm going easy on Kelly and Nuss because of what happened with Ed Ogeron, kick rocks. I'll tell you where to go, where you can take your fake name, fake screen name, and where you can go. Don't ever get it twisted. Nobody tells me what to say. Nobody influences what I say and what I feel. I give you honest opinions. You may not like it. You may not agree with me, and that's fine. But I always give you my honest opinion on anything we're talking about, always. That's why I've had success. The degree of success I've had. Because people know whether you like me, don't like me, agree with me, disagree with me, whatever the case, I'm never going to lie to you. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, and that's that. I don't care if you like it or not. The hell out of here. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.